The Funnies, number 5, with a cover date of February 1937, was published by Dell Comics with a Dan Dunn cover. Dan Dunn was featured in a 4-page story written and drawn by Norman Marsh. Sheldon Mayer gave us a 2-page teen story, Scribbly. Bob Moore wrote Tad of the Tan Bark, with pencils by Carl Pfeiffer. And the team also worked on Don Dixon and the Hidden Empire on a 2-page story. Funny Pages, number 8, with a cover date of February 1937, was published by Comics Magazine. It featured Jack Doolittle on the cover with pencils by Martin Filchock. The Clock was the highlight of the issue in a 2-page story from writer-artist George Brenner. An adventure story featuring the Clock, Slick Martin, and Killer Cats. Funny Picture Stories, number 4, cover dated February 1937, published by Comics Magazine. Featured Will Eisner. The Gerber's Photojournal Guide to Comic Books rates this book as an 8 or rare. Robert Thompson provided the cover art for the issue. Will Eisner's story was 7 pages long, called The Brothers 3. And Will Eisner worked on a second story called Silver Speed, a 2-page story. Rocky Baird was a very lengthy 8-page strip from Paul Loretta. Paul Loretta, born December 28, 1918, lived until 2000. He was one of Joe Shuster's early assistants on the Superman comic. He primarily inked stories and did backgrounds, but he also did penciling on some of the dailies. He was also the writer of the American Ace comics that appeared in Motion Picture Funnies Weekly. When he left Timely Publishers, he continued the comic as Lieutenant Lank at Centaur Comics. Paul Loretta was an artist for Timely Comics and contributed to Marvel Mystery Comics number 2 and 3. He created the character of American Ace, which was deemed too politically intense for young readers, and Loretta was let go from Timely due to this. Tom Dawson was a lengthy 8-page comic strip from writer-artist Steve Jessen. And Steve Jessen worked for Centaur Comic Books through Funnies Inc. into the late 40s. He did script and art on features like Christopher's Coffin, Jerry Frost's Sea Scout, Tom Dawson, and Zardy Eternal Man. King Comics, number 11. Cover dated February 1937, published by David McKay Publications, featured E.C. Cigar and Alex Raymond art. The cover characters include Popeye, Flash Gordon, Henry, Little Annie Rooney, and King of the Royal Mountain. Mickey Mouse Magazine number 17 was published with a cover date of February 1937 from Western. This was volume 2, number 5. Had a Donald Duck cover appearance. Other appearances in the strips included Minnie Mouse, Pluto the Pup, 3 Little Pigs, and other animal characters. More Fun Comics number 18 had a cover date of February 1937, published by DC Comics. Rampant racism is on display on this cover as an Eskimo goes ice fishing and ends up catching more than he bargained for. The cover has stereotyping of African natives and stereotyping of Eskimos in this humor cover from artist Vincent Sullivan. There is a mile-high pedigree copy of this issue, which is one of the earliest comics ever owned by original reader Edgar Church. Gerber rates this comic as scarce. Some of the artists included are Leo O'Mealia, Craig Flessel, Joe Shuster, and Vincent Sullivan. Some of the highlight stories include Dr. Occult, a 2-page story from Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster under the alias of Leaguer and Ruths in their fantasy supernatural story. Craig Flessel gave us a 2-page adventure sports story, Pep Morgan. Tom Cooper was writer and artist of Buckskin Jim in the 2-page Western Frontier story, and this was the last appearance of this character in this title. Mark Marson of the Interplanetary Police was a 2-page science fiction story from Tom Hickey. Thrilling True Stories was a 2-page story from writer Richard Speed and artist Craig Flessel. Craig Flessel also gave us the adventure strip Bradley Boys for 2 pages. And Siegel and Schuster were back with a second title, Radio Squad. This was a detective mystery featuring Sandy Keene. New Adventure Comics number 13, cover dated February 1937. Rates a 10 or unique on Gerber's scarcity scale, and Gerber goes on to note that less than 5 copies exist in the world. Comic Book Marketplace ranked it among the 50 rarest Golden Age comic books ever. Overstreet considers the book to be rare and does not even list values above VF 8.0 for it. Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster give us story and art in this issue, as Whitney Ellsworth gives us the cover of a kid and woman skating. Steve Conrad Adventure was a 2-page black and white strip from Craig Flessel. And Siegel and Schuster gave us a 4-page Federal Men story, the detective mystery featuring Sammy and a dope peddler. Popular Comics number 13, with a cover date of February 1937, was published by Dell Comics, rated a Gerber 7. Characters include Dick Tracy, Little Orphan Annie, and Harold Teen, and the artists include Sheldon Mayer. The Gumps was featured in a 1-page story, and the characters on this cover include Andy Gump, K.O. Mullins, Dick Tracy in the inset, Little Orphan Annie in the inset, and Smitty in the inset. Inside there is a 3-page Little Orphan Annie story from Harold Gray, and a 4-page Dick Tracy story from Chester Gould, and Milton Caniff gave us a 3-page Terry and the Pirate story. Tip Top Comics number 10, with a cover date of February 1937, was published by United Features Syndicate, with a Little Abner cover. Al Cap gave us a 4-page Little Abner strip. Hal Foster gave us a 5-page Tarzan story. It reprinted from Sunday Pages beginning back in June of 1933. And Alice in Wonderland appeared in a short story from writer Olive Ray Scott and artist Ed Kookies in the Children Fantasy Supernatural Classic.